Welcome to our deep dive into the military's weirdest and most surprising rules. While many people assume military life is all about discipline and combat, there are some regulations that will leave you scratching your head. Today, we're breaking down 10 of the strangest military rules, so get ready for a few laughs and some genuine surprises.
Thanks for having me. I think people forget that the military isn't just about strategy and warrants a whole subculture with its own quirks. These rules might seem odd, but they each have a story or rationale behind them. Let's kick things off with a rule that's especially relevant in today's digital world.
Let's start with social media. Most of us can't imagine life without apps like TikTok, but military members face unique restrictions. In 2020, the Department of Defense declared TikTok a cybersecurity threat, banning it across all government devices. Can you explain why this ban was put in place?
Absolutely. The concern is that TikTok, owned by a Chinese company, could be exploited by foreign adversaries to collect sensitive data. The Navy was the first branch to act, but soon all branches followed. By 2022, Congress even ordered TikTok's removal from all federal devices.
That's fascinating. Despite the ban, we still see service members dancing and posting in uniform on TikTok. Isn't that a contradiction?
It is, and it highlights a gray area. While personal use isn't illegal, it's highly discouraged, especially for anything official. Even recruiters can't use TikTok for outreach. Violating this can't technically get you court-martialed, but it could definitely damage your career.
Now, let's talk about language. The phrase cuss like a sailor exists for a reason. But did you know cursing can actually be punishable in the military?
That's right. Under Article 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, indecent language is officially prohibited. Theoretically, dropping too many F-bombs could land you in serious trouble, including jail time or even a dishonorable discharge.
That seems extreme. Is this rule actually enforced, or is it more of a technicality?
In practice, it's rarely enforced unless the cursing crosses a line like insulting a commander or cursing at a minor. It's more a tool for maintaining discipline than something policed daily, but it's definitely real and on the books.
Let's transition to physical standards. There's actually a rule against straggling falling behind during group activities like marches or runs. Could you explain the origins and enforcement of this rule?
Sure, the rule's roots go back to keeping units together in combat. A single person lagging behind could compromise the safety and cohesion of the whole group. Today, it's rare to see formal punishment for straggling in peacetime, but technically, it's still a UCMJ offense, with possible confinement and pay loss.
So, even being a slowpoke during a run could, in theory, get you in trouble?
Exactly. While a slow runner usually just gets a motivational talk, the regulation exists for a reason. Military history is full of examples where stragglers created vulnerabilities.
Moving on, let's discuss stolen valor. Most people know it's distasteful for civilians to fake military service, but it's actually a crime for service members to wear unearned medals or ranks. What's the background here?
For military members, it's strictly illegal to claim honors they haven't earned, like wearing a Purple Heart or higher rank. Civilians can only be prosecuted if they gain something tangible, but in the military, it's a serious offense. There was a recent case in 2023 where a Marine was demoted and discharged for this.
That's a stiff penalty. Why is the military so strict about this?
It's all about integrity and trust within the ranks. If someone cheats the system, it undermines morale and the value of real achievements. The military wants to preserve honor by holding everyone accountable.
Here's a rule that shocks a lot of civilians. Adultery is actually a criminal offense in the military. Can you break down why consensual relationships are subject to legal action?
Absolutely. The military views infidelity as more than a personal matter. It can affect unit cohesion and discipline, especially if it involves people within the same unit. Adultery can be charged under the UCMJ, with penalties like pay forfeiture and up to a year of confinement.
Is this rule still commonly enforced today?
It's not as common as it used to be, but when the incident is egregious or combined with other violations, commanders do pursue charges. The military holds its members to a higher standard, both on and off duty.
Let's delve deeper into relationships. Fraternization, or relationships between officers and enlisted personnel, is strictly forbidden. What's the reasoning behind this separation?
The military insists on a clear chain of command. If officers and enlisted members become friends or romantic partners, it blurs the lines of authority. This can lead to favoritism, undermine discipline, and damage unit trust. Even socializing outside of work can be grounds for punishment.
How are these situations typically resolved?
Usually, one party is reassigned to another unit, but if the relationship continues or combines with adultery, it can result in dismissal, especially for the officer. The maximum penalty includes 2 years confinement and loss of all pay.
On the topic of personal lives, the military once had a rule criminalizing sodomy even between consenting adults. Can you explain how that came about and whether it's still enforced?
Historically, Article 125 of the UCMJ defined sodomy as any unnatural copulation, including oral and anal sex. This law was enforced for decades, mostly targeting LGBTQ members under policies like Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Even married couples could face charges. However, legal reforms and civil rights rulings have largely overturned these convictions.
So, is the rule gone for good?
Mostly. Today, consensual acts are not prosecuted. However, if non-consensual acts are involved, or if another crime occurs, sodomy charges can be added on. The shift reflects evolving social norms and increased civil rights protections.
Switching gears, let's talk about some of the more petty or seemingly arbitrary rules like mandatory reflector belts, not walking on grass, and spotless barracks. Why do these exist?
Many of these rules are about uniformity, discipline, and safety. Reflector belts are intended to prevent accidents, especially during early morning or late evening hours. The grass rule is about preserving landscaping, but it's also a tradition in some branches. Strict cleanliness standards in barracks instill personal responsibility and allow for surprise inspections.
And what about mass punishments when one person slips up?
That's a strategy called collective responsibility. If everyone gets punished for one person's mistake, peer pressure usually keeps people in line. It may seem harsh, but it's effective at building team accountability.
Here's one that frustrates many recruits. You can't have your hands in your pockets. What's the story behind this rule? And is it changing?
The rule exists to maintain a sharp, professional appearance. Hands in pockets are seen as sloppy or inattentive. Interestingly, the Air Force relaxed this rule recently, and the Navy followed in 2023. But in the Army and Marines, hands in pockets are still a no-go, though cultural shifts may eventually change that.
So, it's as much about image as practicality?
Exactly. These small rules reinforce the disciplined, unified look that the military values. But as younger generations enter, some traditions are being reconsidered.
Finally, here's a truly quirky one. The Army prohibits anyone from dressing as Santa Claus or other holiday characters in their aircraft. What's the rationale here?
Nobody's quite sure. The rule's been around for over 20 years, and the original reason is lost to history. It's likely rooted in concerns about professionalism or maybe just an incident gone awry. Interestingly, only the Army enforces this, other branches don't mind a Santa on board.
So, if you're dreaming of seeing Santa in a Black Hawk, don't count on it.
Exactly. Sometimes rules stick around simply because they're tradition, even if nobody remembers why. It's a reminder that military culture is full of both logic and legacy.